Hello, fellow Benzo conquerors. I know a lot of people refer to us as warriors, and that's a totally apt name for us too, because holy shit, are we fighting a battle? But I kind of like conqueror too, just because realistically, every day that we get through, we have won a battle in the war. And eventually we will conquer this whole thing. We're going to storm the castle and declare victory, and off we'll go to our amazing new lives. Anyway, so today is my day 4 of my daily micro taper, and I was able to put myself right there on the first pitch. There's my little body. So yeah, in some ways you look at it and you go, holy shit, that's a long ways to go. Um, but I'm glad to be on the board. And again, if you haven't watched this movie, it's so good. It's so motivating because these guys did something that everybody else said was totally impossible. And they did it. Um, and it wasn't easy, but it just, for me, helped me kind of draw a correlation with benzo withdrawal because this is freaking hard. And our brains are constantly telling us that we can't do it. And we can. So, anyway, great movie. And by the way, if for some reason you would want a copy of this poster that I made to use for yourself, I'm going to put my email in the description, and you can just email me and I'll send you a PDF copy that you can take to the print shop and print out. Um, anyway, so there's just a couple things that I want to clarify on from my last video. One of them being about the daily micro taper. And because you know how it is, you have a conversation, and then as soon as you're done, you're like, oh shit, I wish I would have said this, and I wish I would have said that. So, yeah, I just want to add a couple things. Um, so, again, I think the reason that a daily micro taper might be a little bit better is because in the past, when I've tapered, I did cuts. You know, it was kind of cut and hold, cut and hold. And I think that that might be a little bit more of a shock to the system, whereas this maybe is more gradual. I don't know. It sounds like a good theory to me. And the second thing that I wanted to say is that even though I said, you know, that if I followed the schedule, it's 160 days. But it's like I've said before, if you've watched my other videos, you can't be rigid in this thing. I know that we all want to get off the shit as fast as humanly possible. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And we just send ourselves into the fifth ring of hell because we get so laser focused. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. And if you can do that, then more power to you. Honestly, if I had a ton of money and I didn't have to work, I would probably do a much more rapid taper and just get sicker than shit and just get through it. But I can't because, again, I own a business and I have to support myself. I have to be functional. And that's why I did such an incredibly slow taper before. And, honestly, in a lot of ways it worked because on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being healed and feeling super awesome, I was at a 7 or an 8 a lot of the time. I mean, I had some really rough spells, but, for the most part, it was really functional. It's just that, now that I've been through what I've been through since February, and I've had to increase my dose, I just, I want to try something different because I don't want to spend another 2 years. And here's the thing, I might have to, um, but that's why I'm such a proponent of trying anything and everything because you just don't know. There may be some magical thing for you that will work. Or again, do a whole bunch of things um, together, because again, it's that compound effect thing that I talked about in my last video. Um, so, I'm going to be flexible in this, because I still am a firm believer that if you just let your body lead the taper, it's just so much better. So I'm shooting for daily, but it may end up being every other day. It may be that I have to hold for a few days. I don't know, but I'm just gonna let it be whatever it is and continue to do these other things, um, that are new that I wasn't doing on my last taper. Um, so besides some of the other things that I talked about in my last video in terms of things that I've tried, I just wanted to add a couple others. Um, Acupuncture, I did that two tapers ago, um, and that's when I was doing the really fast taper and I was really miserable. And the acupuncture, honest to God, it works super, super awesome for me. I'm not doing it now because I would have to drive like 50 miles one way to get to someone that does acupuncture and then 50 miles home. And we all know that driving is kind of a challenge. Um, and B, I just can't afford it. But if I had the money, I would do acupuncture twice a week, 3 times a week. Um, I would do a super gentle massage, at least once or twice a week. Not too hard because I think that just kind of stirs up our central nervous system, but a gentle one at least kind of helps clean out the toxins. And you know what? Just the physical touch from another human being can be really soothing and awesome. Um, so I just wanted to throw those things in there as a couple other options, or possibilities for people to look at. Um, so one of the goals of this journey that I am now sharing with you is that besides trying to keep it positive, um, I want to try to share at least one motivational thing or one tip every video. So what I want to share with you today is something that my daughter told me. This was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and for some reason, just really shifted something in my brain. Um, so we all know that it's so easy to get into what I call catastrophic thinking while you're going through benzo withdrawal. I mean, and honestly, we don't even have to be in benzo withdrawal, and we tend to always gravitate toward catastrophic thinking. And I don't know why that is. I mean, why is it we're always thinking about the worst possible thing that could happen? It's like we don't sit and ruminate on, oh my gosh, I might win the lottery. Oh my gosh, I might meet the man of my dreams. Oh my gosh, I might win a trip, or, something like that. It's always the catastrophic, horrible things. So, y'all know that I had to switch medications. It was really shitty. And then right around the middle of July, I actually started to feel pretty decent again. And I should have probably started tapering at that point, but it was right in the middle of summer. That's the busiest time of year for my gift shop. And I was so afraid. I mean, I just felt like that whole experience had just created this whole new level of PTSD in me. So there was a lot of fear in starting a taper again. Um, so I didn't, and I think what ended up happening is I just held too long and I went into tolerance and it just got thrust into, I mean, 2 weeks of just a total and complete shitstorm again and rolled right into that catastrophic thinking. I mean, honestly, I was ruminating, I swear, 24/7 on, oh my God, you're going to have to sell your shop because you're not going to be able to run it. And you're going to have to move out of your apartment. Oh my God, you're going to end up homeless maybe. Maybe you should call around to some shelters. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. And I was just going over these really defeatist thoughts over and over and over. And I was just getting more and more and more sick. Um, so, one thing, I just made the decision to updose a little bit again to get stable so that I could start a taper. I know, you know, that's a catch-22. There are people out there that are like, don't updose no matter what, write it out. And then there's other people that's like, stop being so weird about it. And if you need to updose a little bit, then freaking updose. And I'm like one of those people because my feeling is if I go into tapering feeling like shit, I don't think that I'm ever going to get stable on the way down. And so I just wanted to get stable. But my daughter came to visit me. She lives back in Pennsylvania. And we went out to the park and we had a talk. And I was just telling her about everything I was feeling and thinking and all these fears I had. And oh my God, and what am I going to do? And I realized that I was not in a space where I was even remotely capable of making any kind of decisions that were good. And that's one of those things that I've recognized about benzo withdrawal is, you get in those spaces where you just can't trust your decision making skills at all. And in a way, it's kind of good that I recognize that now, because it makes me not make any decisions. And it really falls into what I'm going to tell you what my daughter said. So she's very, very much into the mind-body connection and Joe Dispenza and a lot of these other scientists and researchers on manifesting and in your subconscious and on and on and on. Anyway, so basically she just told me to stop and to not make any plans at all for 2 weeks. Um, it was like she just gave me permission to like take a mental vacation. I mean, that's honestly what it felt like. And, at first I really pushed back on that. And I'm like, well, no, that's not responsible. I need to make some plans and contingency plans. And, because if it gets really bad, bleh. Um, but then the more that I just kind of eased into it, I realized that the catastrophic thinking may or may not happen in terms of how sick I might get. And so I just stopped. I just stopped and I just decided that whatever was going to happen and I would deal with it when it happened. Um, as opposed to worrying about it because again, I mean, it just worrying about it isn't going to do any good. And if I jump the gun and I sell the shop or I move out or whatever it is that I do, and then all of a sudden I start feeling good, well, I've kind of screwed myself there. Um, and honestly, I know maybe it sounds kind of strange, but that is kind of like the best thing that I've heard or advice I've gotten in a long time. And it's tough to practice because all those thoughts, come back into your head so easy. So, a little strategy I've been using is, when they start creeping back in, I just say cancel or delete. And then I just automatically try to go to another thought. And I just am really, really trying to stay in the present moment and go, you know what, right now I'm okay. Right now I'm fine. Tomorrow I might feel even better. And tomorrow might be just fine. And just try to stay within those parameters and stay out of that catastrophic thinking. So that's my tip for the day. I'm feeling pretty good. I still have that kind of keto flu thing going. So another piece of advice is if you're just starting out on a taper and you want to do the keto diet, I would probably tell you to start the keto diet 2 weeks before you start tapering because they say, it's really common to go into a keto flu for a week or two and feel crappy and fatigued and nauseous and all that kind of stuff, which I do. Um, so I do wish I would have started that way before I started tapering, but it is what it is and I'll be fine. Because the funny thing is, um, this kind of discomfort, it's like, yeah, it sucks. I don't care for it. But, when you've been in the bowels of benzo withdrawal, it just makes everything so much more manageable. Um, and like I said, I'm on my first pitch of my sheer granite wall. So I feel really good about that. So anyway, thanks for visiting, and I wish you healing and peace and love, lots of inner love. Got to really start working on that inner love thing. You got to love yourself like you love your kids or your husband or your grandparents, your parents, or whoever it is, because you would never want them to suffer. You would want to nurture them. You would want to love them. You would want to be good to them. So do that for yourself. Again, please feel free to subscribe if you want to. Have some good playlists. I wish I could say I was going to make a video every day, but I'm not going to make that commitment. Um, but I'm going to try to make them fairly frequently because it holds me accountable. Um, and, they say sometimes the best way to get out of your own funk is to serve others. And so I think maybe by me doing this and trying to help others, um, it helps me too. So, again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.